Yeah, it's mindset cafe, we all about that mindset. Gotta stay focused, never settle for less. It's all in your head, how you think you manifest. So get ready to rise, cause we about to be the best. Gotta switch it up, gotta break the old habits. Get your mind right, turn your dreams into habits. No negative vibes.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Mindset Cafe podcast. It's your boy Devin, and you know it's Friday, so we got our boy Nick over there.
What's up, guys?
So today we wanted to really talk about, handling disappointment and, setbacks and how to create some strategies to basically overcome those hurdles, right? Overcome disappointment, overcome when things don't go the way you want them to, right? When you get a result or you get an answer that you weren't looking for. So with that being said, anyone that is already on the live, let us know if you can hear us.
Phil.
Just to double check, because last week we did have those issues.
Phil and Deco on deck. Can you guys hear us? Mic check 1 2 1 2. Thumbs up. You guys can hear us? We're good? Yes.
All right.
We're good.
Perfect. All right. So let's dive into it a little bit. Let's start off, Nicholas. It's always cool throwing you, right into the shark infested waters of our talking points of the day, right? So let's just talk about, what are disappointments? What is a disappointment, and how can someone be disappointed or a setback, right?
How can someone be disappointed? Well, in a nutshell, to me, it's having a set expectation. And I know I didn't pre-write this. Honestly, this is just right off the top of my head.
Bro, you got ChatGPT right on your phone right now. I ain't lying.
He was a liar. So it's having a set expectation of something, or whatever, and be a set plan or whatnot, and not having it go exactly as you have it drawn up, right? Or you're expecting a certain outcome, minor or major, and same concept, it not turn out exactly how you envisioned it to be, or at least, not as positive as you would have hoped to in the beginning.
Right. Yeah, because there's so many things in life that we think it's going to go a certain way. We plan, we start telling people that, this is about to happen. This is about to happen. All of a sudden it doesn't happen. So there's an emotional tie to some of the things in our life that, we're hoping or we're wishing for it to happen or we're expecting it to happen. And so that emotional excitement and that adrenaline rush of, something you think or is perceived to, happen in the near future, it doesn't happen. All of a sudden you get that letdown or you get that emotional, dump and, that basically adrenaline dump, and it sucks. But just because it sucks and you didn't get the answer you were looking for, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
That's fucking life. Right. So that's why on the Mindset Cafe, I really wanted to talk about this today. If you're an entrepreneur, like this is something that you deal with, and you understand it, right? Things come up. The entrepreneurship is a roller coaster, but also fitness is a roller coaster. You may do a weigh-in. You don't get the results that you're looking for, right? You may, go for a heavier lift and you don't hit it when you had been leading up to it and you really thought you were going to get it. There's so many different things, right? So with that being said, your mindset around your setbacks, your mindset around your disappointments really shapes you and your future, right? Because if you're able to shift your mindset around your setbacks and around outcomes that aren't desired, right? And when your life starts to go awry, right? All of a sudden you're like, hey, it is what it is. Your mindset around that and your development around your mindset for it can really start to improve your emotional intelligence, but also it can lead to you learning lessons and improving your journey and your success track record faster.
Yeah.
Right.
Like learning the problem solving skills. And I think a big part of it is like, the adaptation that you learn, in all the aspects. And one, I think two, it teaches a lot about you as an individual. Mm-hmm. I think when it comes to like setbacks or disappointments, when we do run into them, it's like, how do you react to it? Because I know it's like, it's that feeling of like despair or like you know, kind of like,
Bro, you're using big ass words over here. I know you have ChatGPT on your phone. You're such a liar. You know, all of a sudden you're like despair. You know,
just looking up. I have the dictionary up. No, but no, I'm
word
just,
of the day.
I'm just, I'm just speaking from the heart right now because I mean, like you said, like you and I, out of a lot, everybody faces it, but like you and I, out of a lot of people can definitely relate to that in every aspect. So I know I'm speaking from the heart, like that feeling of, you know, even working towards a certain goal, you know, even just the journey getting there, you know, if you have like certain mile markers or certain small goals to get to the ultimate one, and you don't hit those mini goals right away, or you fuck up, or things don't go exactly how it is, it's just like that feeling of like, damn, you know, it feels like your heart just sinks in a sense. But how we react and how we're able to realize, you know what I mean, take the situation for what it is, but being able to take a step back and then reanalyze like your next move to come back and to get back on track, or to find a different way to still get to where you're trying to get to, I think is like a big, you know, a big aspect of like being able to come back from disappointment.
No, I think exactly. And we're definitely going to dive into some of those things too. You have to think of it, for every disappointment or every setback, there's a lesson that needs to be learned, or a skill that needed to be learned that wasn't yet learned. And now you have that in your arsenal for your future, right? So every setback, every disappointment, there's something to be learned or basically taken from it. And now you have acquired that, and you can use that for, you know, overcoming that in the future, and that, you know, so that obstacle doesn't happen again, or that setback doesn't happen again. But in terms of, you know, let's say your disappointment or your setback comes from some criticism from somebody, right? In terms of like, you thought you did so well, and you thought you were going to get the praise that you were going to get from someone, and you didn't get it, right? Because again, there's setbacks and there's disappointment. But again, going into both realms, sometimes you were looking for praise or looking for, you know, words of appreciation, I guess, from someone, and you didn't get that. Well, now you can use that to, one, improve your emotional intelligence and improve yourself, and realize that either you don't really need that just to do your best, or two, why didn't you get the praise that you were looking for, right? Was it because you did your best at the end and not throughout the whole thing, hoping to still just, you know, skate by and get that praise, right? Is it something that, did you lose a competition and now all of a sudden you lost competition before, and now you started working out, you know, harder for the next one, right? So you can use that. Let's say the same scenario, you lost a competition, you can use that setback and be like, oh, the world is over, I lost. Or you can use that as motivation to train harder and more intense, and do more research, and, you know, get more advice and more help for the next competition. Or you could sit on the couch and, you know, do nothing and weep and, you know, eat bonbons.
Yeah.
Right?
So, and like, just to add to what you said, as far as like, you know, kind of, I guess, if you expected like to get a praise or a certain feedback, you know what I mean, from an outside perspective, or another person or whatever, to me, it's like two different things. It can go two different ways. One, it could be, like you said, maybe you weren't good enough. I know it sounds kind of aggressive, but it's like, whatever it may have.
Honestly, I don't think that's aggressive. I think that not enough people understand sometimes you're just not good enough,
or you didn't do enough work to
be good enough.
Exactly.
Right.
Or to get that work done that needed to be done how it was supposed to be done.
Yeah.
And I think that a little bit goes into having accountability. You know what I mean? And not putting the blame on external factors, and rather just realizing, okay, why did I not get the phrase? Or, you know, for example, at work, like, oh, why didn't my boss commend me, or like I didn't get praise for this? It's like, what if it wasn't exactly what was needed or necessary to hit the criteria?
Right.
Is one aspect of it. Or two, if it's something not as major as that, you know what I mean? It could be like, if the disappointment was getting just a positive, you know, hoorah from someone else, it's like, who fucking cares? It's the other side of it, you know what I mean? It's like, if you know you are also, again, this is just the other side of it. Like if you know you did exactly what you're supposed to do as hard as you can, someone just not saying, giving you the, the pat on the back or anything doesn't necessarily mean that you're not succeeding. Yeah. You're still on your way to, to get to where you want to get to, or what you're trying to be successful in. Just like an external factor doesn't mean that it should hold you back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So like going back, rewinding to when I was saying like you're just not good enough sometimes, that doesn't mean you can't be good enough, right? That just means sometimes you're not good enough at your current state because you haven't done the things you needed to do to be good enough to win, to succeed, to get your promotion. And that's not that it wasn't out of your control. You had the opportunities. Maybe you didn't know you had them because you didn't look for them. You didn't do your due diligence. You didn't ask for help. You didn't, research. You didn't, learn the new skills. So you weren't good enough to get the result you're looking for. But the negative side comes from it when you didn't get the result that you wanted. So now you think, I'm not good enough. What you need to think is, I'm not good enough yet. Right? Keyword yet. And same thing with, you don't win a competition. Well, I can't do this. I can't win yet.
Yeah.
Right. I couldn't win yet because I haven't trained as hard as they trained. Someone out-trained me. Someone out, learned the, skills. Someone out, whatever.
Someone outworked me.
Yeah.
They got the promotion. Exactly.
So go back and train harder.
Yeah.
Right?
G coming through with the comments. That's what I'm saying. G says,
go get in the comments. I know your ass is watching right now.
Everybody get on the comments. Yeah. You guys tell us what,
I'm not looking. That was the only other name you said. So.
Oh, let us know.
Get in the comments.
That's right. Like, Miriam, get in the comments. Like, let us know what your perspectives on disappointments and setbacks. Throw it in the comments.
Yeah.
But G said, use it as fuel.
Yep.
To what we were saying. Like it goes right into our reaction to the disappointment or setback. It's like it goes hand in hand with like failure and success. It's like all the people that in the long term or short term goals. It's like the definition of being successful is just failing so many times and being able to adjust from those failures until you succeed. It's just an endless time horizon. You just have to keep failing or keep putting up and hurling over the disappointments and the setbacks until you get there.
And I think that's like the key thing you said right there is it's an endless time horizon. Is too many people think about their goals on a finite, basically like from basically point A to point B.
Yeah.
Right. And so once they hit point B, then what?
Yep.
Right. So it's like, okay, you got the promotion. Now what? Right. So it's like, you got to think of your goals. You got to think of life as, endless essentially. And so the things that you're trying to do, you're working harder, not for this competition. You're working harder for every competition that you're going to do in the future.
Yeah.
Right. You're working harder for this promotion and every other promotion that you're going to get in the future. But if you only work hard enough for this promotion, there's shit that you could have done that you didn't do because you're like, it's not for this one little promotion here. I'm working for promotion 10 down the road.
Yeah.
Right. I'm working to essentially the pattern to look like when you're skipping rocks. Right. I don't want it to be just sliding across. I want it to be jump, 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 and that way, when you're working for promotion number 10 or basic competition number 10, when you're on competition number 1, you might, win number 2 without having to do anything new, right? Nothing had to be changed. That wouldn't just happen because you had been working so hard that number 1, you overdid it, which is not a bad thing, but you had worked so hard that number 2 is just a handout, right? Because you've not just learned the skills or started doing things for today or tomorrow, but you did it as a lifestyle, and a lifestyle, your lifestyle has changed because of it. And now things start to get easier with that. Yeah.
And like you said, as the tiers go up, the criteria changes, right? And then like the skills and, who we become as we excel through those tiers, it's like it's good enough for the first couple of tiers, but then again, the criteria changes as you level up. Now, while we're trying to excel and get to the next tier, what do you guys think happens between that time?
Yeah.
Disappointment and a setback.
Yeah.
Because where your current stage is not where it needs to be to hit the next level. But understanding that you are going to hit setback and disappointment is a part of life. You know what I mean? If we were just born and just success and just wins every single day, then I don't know what the fuck the point of life is. You know what I mean? So like hitting the setbacks and disappointments on our way to the next level, onto the next tier, onto the next goal is part of it. It's how we adjust and overcome those is what determines whether we hit the next one and keep moving forward.
Right.
Miriam said, hell yeah, Miriam. I used to get disappointed knowing I was putting the effort and didn't see much change. But thanks to all the Strive trainers, I learned that progress is more than the number on the scale.
That's true. I mean, honestly, and sometimes, I mean, me not being in here every day, I could already say this to you, Miriam, like me not being in here every day, I see you sporadically and I see the changes physically, you know, when I see you each time. So you may not see it because you're looking in the mirror every single time, right? But believe me, the changes you've made from when you started till now are definitely noticeable. People definitely notice.
Yep.
Right. Alongside your fitness growth in terms of like strength and endurance, all that kind of stuff, but the physical changes definitely are noticeable, right? I want to go back to like what we were kind of talking about a second ago too. When you start to say like, I can't do this, right? Then you can't, right? If you are always expecting the worst outcome, it's going to happen, right? You have to think that your perspective and your perception starts to become your reality. And when you start to shape the perspective or perception of your future by saying you can't, or that this is going to happen, will guarantee you're going to start doing things so that outcome becomes true. Right. So if you think the worst and you're always thinking the worst about everything, and you're like, oh, this always happens to me, and you're a, woe is me kind of person, will guarantee 9 times out of 10 that shit's going to happen because you're always, playing that victim mindset. And now everything that you encounter in life is with that mindset versus, oh, this is a lesson. Oh shit, that happened. Okay, cool. Like didn't go the right way, but hey, I learned this from this, I can keep moving forward. Right. Like my biggest thing is you cross each bridge as it comes. Right.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah.
Devin says that all the time.
Right. Because, I say it all the time because you ask like, so what happens when this? I don't know. Cross that bridge when we get there. You got this one to cross right now.
I have a high level of anxiety.
That I know, sir. That I know. Believe me, I get it. And I have it too. But it's one of those things where, my whole thing is like some things are out of your control, but some things are definitely within your control. Right. And so I've never been the kind of person that has stressed about things I cannot change, such as an hour ago. I can't change anything about an hour ago, right? I can't change anything if I said something to you and hurt your feelings. Well, I can't change the fact that I already said it. But what I can do is I can say something else. I can talk to you. I can explain what happened, all that kind of stuff. I can only change the future on certain things. But some things are just straight out of your control. You get a fucking speeding ticket, or you get pulled over. It's out of your control whether the police officer gives you a ticket or not. You can be nice, but if he still wants to give you a ticket, it happens.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no point in getting mad and upset and all that kind of stuff. It's like, well, shit, it is what it is, But let's say for Miriam, her challenges with fitness, it's like you could step on the scale, you could, you can do the challenge, and all of a sudden you're expecting a certain result and you don't get that result. You could be like, oh man, this isn't, what I wanted, blah, blah, blah. So, okay, did you do everything that you physically could have? And if so, then okay, what else can we do? What other things have you not done? Right. Yeah. But you can look at it as a setback as, oh man, like I did everything that I thought I should do and I didn't get what I wanted. Okay, but just because you did everything you thought you should do doesn't mean you did everything you could have done.
Right.
Right.
So, and I like that because I think too, like, of course, when you are honestly like putting in the work and like, being consistent with it and all that, sometimes like when you, like if you stepped on the scale and then you didn't see quite the progress that you were expecting, what if it is part of like what we mentioned earlier, that it's because you're hitting like a plateau, you know what I mean? Because you have excelled to where you were before. Kind of like with Miriam, it's like, just a quick look back of being grateful for the road that you've traveled. Because if you were Miriam, if you look back, you are so much further than when you first came in, when you started. 100%. You know, so right now wherever, and it doesn't just have to be Miriam, it's like anybody. Like if you step up,
like,
G.
Actually, now thinking about it, G, this goes out to you. I was actually, I didn't even tell you this. The other day, forget, it was like so it was Tuesday or Wednesday. I went to a local networking group that I invited to. It was at night, and one of the girls there, she was like one of the leaders of the group or something. She actually knew G, and she didn't know that G was a trainer here or one of the members, but she was saying that her sister-in-law, you know, comes here, or her sister comes here, and that she follows our page and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then the person that invited me was like, oh yeah, that's, you know, he's one of the owners. And then she's like, oh, that's awesome. She's like, oh yeah, and honestly, I don't remember the relationship, but somehow you're related, G, to her. But she was like, yeah, like, you know, so, and again, the relationship, I don't remember, but, you know, she was like, Geraldine goes there. And I was like, oh, really? And she's like, yeah, I think it's that one, or maybe you guys have another location. I was like, no, we only have that one right here in Tarzana. And she was like, oh, then it's definitely that one. And I was like, yeah, she's actually one of our trainers. She's like, oh, that's where? I was like, yeah. She's like, oh, well, I'm going to come try it out. I was like, I'm gonna hold you to it, you know. That's crazy. It's crazy. It's a small world. And, you know, Geraldine, what she had said was Geraldine's like transformation from before we even opened, like when she was training with you and everything, like from those pictures that G's even posted, from basically the before picture to now, it's like, it almost looks like two different people. You're like, this is insane. You're like, this is fake.
It is, you know, it's insane.
It's like, honestly. It's like Nate. It's like, who is that? Yeah. like you're supposed to do it before and after. Like, who'd you put?
That's funny. G said, "What?" exclamation point.
I mean, I said I don't know the relationship.
You know, so. Yeah. I think she just meant that. Like, what? Really? Oh. Yeah. No, but that, like, yeah. So commendation to G, because like that's a perfect example of, you know, the progress and the pursuit of, like, you know, like you just have to overcome like all the setbacks and disappointments, because I'm sure, like, with her whole journey, even until now, because I'm sure, like, I know she's very consistent with her training and stuff, that there's still yet of more hurdles to overcome, you know what I mean? But the fact of understanding and, you know, applying what's necessary to learn the skills and all that to be able to, you know, overcome and pretty much like get to the next level.
Yeah. And then, I mean, even just because you got a setback, if you're trying to achieve a goal that someone else has achieved, obviously it's a reality that you can achieve, right? And this is something that me and you have talked about on different scales and different things. But in terms of, let's say, fitness, if you are striving to, let's say, you know, be a bodybuilder and you didn't, you know, win your last bodybuilding competition, right? Other people have won. You can watch what they do and start to realize that there's certain things they're doing that you're not doing to try to implement it. Let's say you're trying to lose weight. You've seen other people lose weight, but for some reason you think that your body is magical and it doesn't lose weight. It's just not true. Scientifically speaking, it's not true.
Yeah.
Right. So what do? You try to figure out what are the habits, what are the actions that I'm not doing currently. But then there's a limit to that, a limit that your mind can fathom just naturally of what to do from your common sense. Remember, because common sense is only common to you.
Yeah.
Right. This is something that I had to learn when we were first starting off the business, you know, and stuff like that, because certain things for me, it was common sense because I had done it for so long with, you know, like, let's say, selling and all that kind of stuff. And then I had to realize that I was like, oh, this isn't common sense. It's common sense now, but it's not just everyone's common sense. Right. So when your brain only allows you to, you know, think about certain things and see different, you know, ways to get there, you have to realize there's other things you're not doing or you don't know about that you can ask someone else that's already accomplished it. And then they're like, oh yeah, this is the missing piece that you're not doing. Right. Or you can get help or start to look it up. Right. But I mean, just sitting back and thinking that you'll never be able to do it and think I can't, or this isn't for me, or, you know, I'm the exception. I guarantee you're not the exception. You're not that special. Right. In a good way.
Yeah. You got to make yourself special.
But I mean, I guess the power really comes from perspective, right? So it's like, how are you viewing the setback? How are you viewing the disappointment? How are you viewing the things that happen to you, right? So you can think of it as like, okay, well, damn, everything just goes wrong. Or you be like, okay, this is a learning lesson. Or this was, this didn't happen, so it wasn't meant to happen. I can't win yet because I haven't learned these things, right? And for you, like, what have you done? I want to throw you under the bus right now because I know it'll be a little more organic, and then I'll kind of give you my spiel on it too. What are things that you've done to start to shift your perspective? Because I've seen your mindset and your perspective around just business, and you as a business owner, like, shift over the time that we've opened the business. What have you done personally to start to work on your ability to shift your perspective from like a limited, mindset to more like a growth mindset? And do you get what I mean?
Yeah. Like what did I, I guess, what did I do?
Like, what did you do, or what was told to you, or, what happened? What was the light bulb that, started to do?
Okay. I think I know what you're saying. So, I mean, I think that's like a good example, because like, especially like where we are now, where we are now and what we're doing, certain realizations, it's, with every obstacle and every disappointment that we've been faced and still continue to face, it's me realizing that I got to take a step back, because the things that like I did get disappointed with, yeah, I broke my heart in the moment, you know what I mean? And then, yeah, like there was that feeling of despair, but I asked myself, it's like, what now? You know what I mean? What now? There's nothing I can do about that, the small setback. How am I gonna? I had to take a step back and think like, okay, but I still need to overcome this. It was a realization of there's only one of me. I only have one shot at this, and there's no one that's gonna come save us. Because since your question was like about like business and pretty much what we're doing with our life, it's like, dude, it's like, and honestly, I would sit at home at night on certain times, and I would, honestly, bro, like being fully transparent, like I had to ask myself, like, dude, like, am I just gonna fucking lay here and just cry, or like just accept defeat? Because the thing is, like, time and life will continue to go on, and I only got one. I sound like some shady. I only got one shot at this. You know what I mean? It is my moment. You know what I mean? So it's like, what am I gonna do about it? Right. No one's gonna come save us.
Yep.
Nothing is gonna change if I just sit here and accept it, and if I wallow in self-pity.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's not even certain things. Obviously, there's a plethora of like concepts to it, but it just me thinking and realizing that the next step that comes is right here in my hands. So that's when I start, and that's how I had to think about it. It's like every action from each disappointment and setback, it's all about how I'm going to shift my strategy and my actions behind it. Meaning, what did I do or that were in my control, right? Like, what were the things that were in my control that I did and didn't do that I could have done differently, to the point where I am now with the setback and disappointment, and how can I go about this a different way? And that was just like, okay, well, I either ask you, or like look into it myself, or, kind of just figure it out. But the biggest takeaway was like, you just have to understand that if you don't do anything about it, nothing's going to happen. You know what I mean? And also on top of that, consistently, I had to remind myself and think of, obviously the ultimate goal, but again, that ultimate goal will continue to exceed because we're on the endless time horizon. You know what I mean? Because when we do reach our current mile marker goals and stuff.
I know we were just talking about we just expanded our goals like fucking tenfold yesterday.
That was crazy when we had that talk. It blew my mind. I was like,
damn, like, so our map just went even longer, and we haven't even hit certain milestones. But again, that's how you're supposed to think, right?
Exactly.
You're supposed to think, not like your goals can keep expanding, but you realize that you're breaking your goals into smaller goals, right? And so you're not setting your expectations to hit milestone 10 out the gate. You realize your goal is to get to milestone 10, but realize that there's milestones before that you need to hit.
Yeah.
Right. And so the more you can break down a goal into smaller goals, right? Whether it's improving, this week, this day, whatever, breaking it down into smaller goals, it makes a bigger goal more manageable, and your expectations and your reality of hitting that bigger goal a lot more realistic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, 100%. And it was, kind of, again, with just the current goals that we have right now, like nearsighted, I just had to keep reminding myself that like what the goal was, and that if I don't find a way to overcome the current obstacles and solve the problems, we're not going to get there, or it's going to fail. And the thing is, failure is not an option.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And also on top of that, it's reminding myself that the journey and like the things of the blueprint of how we imagine how we're going to get there is never gonna be exactly how you drew that shit up. It's like a map. That was one of the key things that I did, dude. Like I always pictured like a goal or a task like a roadmap. Like when you're following a GPS and then you like kind of like zoom out and then you see where you are and then your end goal.
Yeah.
It's like I always thought of it that way, that okay, well in my head this is what the route was, but then there's like a roadblock here. There was a goddamn accident.
Reroute.
You got to reroute and you got to take detours.
Yep.
But understanding that those are part of it, part of the journey and part of the process is going through the detours and accepting and adapting to them is what's going to get you to where you're trying to get to. You know what I mean? But honestly, you just got to take that shit head on. Like that was some of the like key takeaways for me to change my mindset.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I think of it the same way, right? Before I go into like my explanation of it, like, is there any in the comments? I'm hoping so, because if not, you guys need to step it up.
Well, no, Miriam just gave props to G, and then G was just like, I appreciate you, and that she just wants to help people and stuff.
So in the comments, guys, like the next thing I want you guys, try to say is, what do you or how have you shifted your perspective and shaped your mindset to deal with setbacks, right?
How do you guys in the comments, how do you currently deal with your disappointments and setbacks? Because you guys better not put nothing, I just give up. Because it's written on there in the gym here, never fucking give up. Yeah. So tell us what you guys do, your tactics and stuff to shift your mind frame and how you guys overcome your hurdles.
Yeah. So that you're never giving up because you're adapting. Right. So, I mean, that's one of the things that, one of the next topics I wanted to talk about too is adapting. But to what you said, right, like that's huge. That's actually the way I think about it too, is like, it's like almost like using, a GPS or back in the day, MapQuest, right? You fucking miss the exit. It's like you can try to fight and get back to that exit, or you can keep moving forward to the next exit and just take that as a detour.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes you'll spend longer trying to get back and backtrack because you thought that was the one and only way to do it. But in reality, the next 10 exits will still get you there, just a little different, right? The view is going to be different. The obstacles are going to be different. But if you're only viewing your goals as, again, that first visual of it, where it's, fucking here to New York, and you see the fucking little squiggly line all the way across, you're like, damn, that's 3,000 something miles. Hell no. That's way too hard to accomplish that. Right. Then you zoom in and you're like, that's like a 20-mile little marker. I can make that. Zoom in a little bit more. Oh, I can make it from here to there, a mile. That's not bad. And then I can still make it that mile 2 to 3. Right. And then all of a sudden something happens and you adapt. You cross each bridge as it gets there, literally and figuratively, if you're speaking about a map. Yeah. But I mean, my biggest thing, I think, like growing up and everything was like, I always told myself, now what?
Yeah.
Like something happened and it wasn't, let's say in school, you didn't get the grade that you wanted. Now what? You did get the grade you wanted. Now what? right? So whether the out for me, it was always whatever the outcome was, positive or negative. Now what, right? You have to keep moving forward, and you can have a game plan. You can have, speaking of what we were talking about earlier, business plan. Nothing ever goes according to plan. I can guarantee you, I will put my life savings that your business plan in any business doesn't go to plan the way you write it before you launch your business. Guarantee it. I'll double or nothing it, but that's not saying it won't work. You just have to realize in any goal, anything in life, you have to be willing to adapt, because life is adaptable, right? And the more adaptable you can be and not get upset with the reroutes and, the changes and detours, and not get upset or, frustrated at those, and realize it's just part of the journey, it's going to be a lot more smooth. And then you won't see those reroutes or detours as a negative. You're going to be like, well, shit, it's because the bridge just, collapsed right there. Like, if I would have gone that way, this would have happened. So I'm glad I actually went that way.
Yeah.
I learned this along the way. Right.
Jess said, just to acknowledge some of the responses we got. Hell yeah. Jess was like, she said, cry first, then analyze what went wrong and how can I tweak or fix it. Yeah, agreed. Definitely. Excellent fucking point.
Hold on, I want to stop on that too, because I think how we're saying it. Yeah, how we're saying it, because that is the way we're saying it is like, for you and I, we handle things a certain way. That's, again, each person handles it differently. You handle certain things different than I handle them. But for some people, let's say cry, not cry, whatever, get sad and get, upset, get in your feels, as the kids say, that's not wrong to do. But if you stay there, that's wrong, right? So it's okay to be, feel bad, or be upset that something didn't happen the way you wanted it to be. That's natural. I was talking about that adrenaline dump, that excitement dump that didn't happen. But then it's like, okay, again, now what, right? How am I going to solve this or resolve this, and keep moving forward?
Right. I agree. Miriam said, I remind myself she said, I remind myself that I'm doing it for me, for a better and healthier version of me.
That's good.
Yeah. Reminding yourself like the bigger picture.
Yeah. Or the purpose. So sometimes you have to remind yourself, like, what is the why? We've talked about the why on a number of episodes. What is your why?
Yeah.
Right. And if you're still working towards your why or your purpose, your reason, however you want to say it, then the detours and the adaptability doesn't seem as bad, because at the end of the day, it's all for the same purpose.
Yeah. You gotta want to get to where you're trying to get to bad enough.
Yeah.
You gotta fucking want it. You know what I mean? Or if you just stop and you let hurdles and disappointments stop you in your tracks and in your route, unfortunately, you didn't fucking want it bad enough. You just have to find a way. I think, it's not finding the way, it's finding a way.
Yeah.
A way.
But there's always a way. And that's what people don't realize too, is there is always a solution to every single problem.
Amen.
Right. And that was the conversation I had earlier with, one of our future franchisees. And this whole topic came up around that, right? Because he didn't get a thing that he wanted, and to get his process moving as fast as he wanted. But we had the same conversation earlier, and it was, hey, it's okay, right? There's always a solution. There's always a way to do it. We just got to find that solution, or find that way for you to solve, problem A or problem B or whatever it is. It might be problem fucking H, right? Whatever it is. There might be 10 issues that face each other back to back. But again, if you get up and you like, okay, well, those, 13 didn't work. What's option 4C? There's going to be a solution. And that's where you have a community, or have a group of people, or a social network, in terms of not social media, social network that you interact with, that you can lean on, not to pity you, but to ask for. Or if you are in that funk, that you could be like, look, honestly, this is what happened. Like, I can't seem to get myself out of it. And sometimes just saying that, they can give you that perspective change. Because sometimes you can't see the perspective change yourself. And believe me, I'm good at perspective shifting. And sometimes when it's me it's harder to do. And it's always hardest to give yourself the perspective change. But having someone like, you know, you and I have had these conversations where I've told you, you know, the issue or whatever I'm facing. Then sometimes it's just, you know, it's just a little one line or whatever. And then it just, you're like, fuck yeah, you're right. I'm just being, you know, suck it up, you know?
It's hard when it's hard when you're the one in that moment feeling it. You know what I mean? Like your vision is kind of blurred because you're going into the thick of it. You know what I mean? You're going through it right now. So I back that up like tenfold, like just getting that positive outside perspective, you know, especially in putting yourself in like the environment around those people that, you know, hopefully like have either been through it or have a positive feedback as to that they may have overcome it already. You know what I mean? To have an insight as to what can help you at least bring your vision back. You know what I mean? Geraldine said, I look at my kids and remember that I got to keep going. I agree with that too. It's like, you know, with certain goals and stuff, like having external drivers, you know what I mean? Like it is still going to be your why. Like for G, like her kids are a big part of her why. Right. You know what I mean? So just, I think a common denominator here is like remembering like the purpose and like where you're trying to get, you know, what you're doing it for.
And then realize that like with that too, like using G as a reference, because like this goes more than just her why, right? You know, obviously the person that's related to you or knows you is also an example of this. Again, I don't know how that goes about, but her, your kids, other people, you know, members, like you have people watching you and you are their motivation. Mm-hmm. You getting up repeatedly and after setback, after, you know, disappointment, and them seeing that, they get to realize that there's always a solution. They get to realize and see that there's a way to overcome that or to not sit in their self-pity, right? And so, and if you don't think that there's anyone like that in your life currently watching, I guarantee there is, right? You just don't know, because I guarantee whoever the person is that I'm talking about that Geraldine knows, I guarantee that lady has probably never told Geraldine that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, she was like, what? She was shook.
Right? So that's one of the things where if you don't believe me on that, then what you have to think of and shift your perspective of, I'm going to be the motivation for someone someday that I get to tell them my story, and then they realize anything is possible. Mm-hmm. Because I'm not going to give up, and I'm going to do the things and overcome any obstacle that is presented in front of me, right? I will find a way to get there, right? I'm going to do this, and then I want to show Geraldine, like I want to show my kids, you know, that they can do anything in life at any point in their life if they're willing to put in the work and willing to build the resilience and the discipline to essentially get that end goal, right? Because all achieving a goal is discipline, your dedication, your grit, or your, you know, like your tenacity for overcoming your obstacles, right? So realize that if you don't think anyone's watching, that's fine. But one day someone will be watching or will hear your story, and you will be that motivation, or you won't be, because of the actions and inactions that you did or didn't do. Yeah. So what do you want to be? Do you want to be the person that they're like, this is what you don't do? Or do you want to be the person that this is the story that you want to be like? Yeah. Right. So, I mean, the number one thing, like I want to say is, you know, take action, right? Because I mean, that's the thing is like people overthink, and you're so worried about what ifs and what if nots, and you know, it's like, dude, fuck all that. Just take action. Don't worry about it. What if? Just what happened? Yeah. Now what? Yeah. What happened? Now what? Right? And realize that there's going to be obstacles. There's going to be hurdles. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be disappointments. You're going to accomplish a goal, and then there's going to be a new chapter of setbacks, obstacles, disappointments, and so forth. Right? But you just thinking about and overthinking about it, and even if you're thinking about it and doing the research to one day essentially take step one, realize that there's an information and a knowledge basically overload or an overvalued, you know, perspective on it, and there's an inaction and a lack of action per se, like undervalue. So people are undervaluing the skill of just taking action, taking step, and they're overvaluing the fact that they need to know fucking every single skill and every single thing to do it. It's like, I guarantee you can at least move up a little bit if you just tried.
No, I agree with that. Like I kind of catch myself doing that sometimes. Like, and I think, you know, I get it. Like that part of me is like I wanted to fucking be a perfectionist and just wanting to get things right. But I remind myself, you know, kind of right doesn't necessarily mean it's exactly has to be one specific line. You can do the right thing and you can do the right action to overcome something in many different ways.
Yeah.
And Geraldine also said, remind myself where I started and where I am. I actually like that.
We've had that talk too.
Yeah, because like kind of like what I mentioned earlier with Miriam, it's like giving yourself grace. It's like, you know, when like I think that's a good tool or tactic. Like when you do face certain little hurdles or obstacles, it's like taking a quick sec and having that realization. Okay, wait. And like I'm not just like failing tremendously right now. Let me see how far I've gone. You know, like for example, just like that map, it's like maybe you're a quarter or halfway there, but it's like, and then you like a tree's in the way or some shit. You know, it's like, okay, you could be disappointed. It's like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna stop and just not find another route to get to your destination, or can you look back real quick and be like, damn, like I made it that far already?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna turn around and just go back to where you started?
Yeah.
No, you got to give yourself grace and give yourself, props for like putting in that work and getting there.
Celebrate the small wins, right? Yeah. You don't need to over celebrate, but give yourself basically the praise and give yourself the acknowledgement for small wins. And in doing so, it'll allow your subconscious to realize that you're doing good, you're doing okay, right? Which will alleviate some of that anxiety and stuff. And going back into like what you had said about, you know, in the beginning, especially in the beginning, fucking 1000% in the beginning, your ass wanting to do everything to fucking 100% perfection. And me and you getting into little arguments because I'm like, dude, just fucking do it or make a decision. And you're like, well, yeah, I want to do it perfect. I was like, what the fuck is perfect? I was like, what do you mean? I was like, bro, how many times do I come out here and tell you I messed up? Like, we just spent an extra $1,000 that we didn't need to spend. They laugh, my bad. And then all of a sudden I go do the right one. Right. Yeah. And then it was like, okay, well, shit. Yeah, if I would have probably waited a little longer, done, you know, another 2 weeks of research, maybe I would have found that out, but maybe I wouldn't have. Right. Some things you just got to learn as you go. Mm-hmm. But the conversation we would have and we would argue over all the time. And now it doesn't happen. So I'm fucking thankful, you know, but it was like
growing.
It was like, and I mean, this is a long time changed a long time ago, but it was like, bro, the frustration that you're having with yourself of not being able to do it perfectly or not doing it yet and being frustrated that you haven't done it yet because you don't know how to do it perfectly was frustrating me that you haven't done anything yet, right? Because now I'm trying to do all these things and think you're doing this and you're still waiting on this because you're trying to figure out the perfect solution. I was like, fucking do it, break it, we'll fix it, and then let's go again. Like, you know, let's move. And then it was like time and time again. And then finally there was just a light bulb and you're like, okay.
I had to let go, bro. That was one of the things, that was one of the realizations that you had asked me. Like, I forgot about that. Like, I just had to let go and just realize that, again, it's not the only way. I just had to find a way. And you're not going to take the right way every single freaking time. Yeah. And this is life. Like, damn, bro, business. Like, you don't make the right decision probably half or if not most of the time. Yeah. But you learn and you take those tools and lessons and you apply them, and that's how you keep moving forward.
Yeah. And then the times that you made the mistakes, now you have a system in place that you're like, hey, don't do this because this is what happens.
Yeah.
Right. Don't touch the fucking stove because it fucking burns. Mm-hmm. Right.
For the record, I didn't touch a stove.
No. But that was the same thing. It was like, you know, I told you in the beginning too that this was something that when we were, you know, having those little, like, they weren't even arguments, they were just like heated conversations, you know, like just trying to get you to realize that it's okay if you make a mistake, because I make them all the time and you never say shit because I'm the only one making the mistakes. And you know, you're like, and I knew you were sitting back and be like, okay, well, at least it wasn't me, I didn't make the mistake, you know, whether you said or didn't say it, like I knew it, but it was like there was no other way to figure out the solution. Yeah. Right. And I was like, look, I'm not going to be upset with any mistake that you make. Like, whatever mistake you make, once we both realize it was a mistake, then we'll discuss why you made it So I understand what the reasoning was behind it or what the solution was you were hoping for. So now we can collaborate two minds and find another solution.
Yeah.
Right. But you might just strike gold on the first hit. But if you don't take any strike, then we don't got anything.
You won't know until you try.
Yeah. And that was like the big thing. I was like, dude, like some of the decisions I was like trying to force you to make, I was like, I don't know the answer either, man. Like, I'm gonna choose A or B. Which one do you want to choose?
When you would ask me a question, and I would ask you
that shit would frustrate me so much. I'd be like, hey Nick, so this is what we're gonna do. You know, we can either do option A or option B. And you're like, all right. And this is the part that annoyed me. I knew the look in your eye every single time you did it. You would kind of look off to the side, think about it. You'd usually like, you know, think about it, and you'd be like something with your mouth, and then you'd be like, so do you want to do like maybe option A or B? And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? You literally just said the same thing I did, a different way. I was like, I'm not giving you an answer.
I'm just trying to restructure your brain of thinking.
And I was like, bro, you literally just reworded my question and asked me the same question. And then I was just like, no, you answer it. You know? But, so, I mean, it all goes in realizing that life is a journey and the journey is unknown. Your journey is going to be different, not you, but let's say them, right? Is going to be different than the next person's, right? And even mine and Nick's. Yeah, we're business partners, and you know, we have a journey that is very similar, but there's certain aspects to our journey that are going to be different, right? And that's okay. How you overcome them might be similar to the way I overcame them, might be different than the way the next person overcomes them. But again, you overcame it. That's all that matters.
Yeah. So, and like you said, like we've grown out of that. I don't, for the record, guys, I don't ask him questions, reiterate the questions anymore.
That was a huge accomplishment.
We grew up, and I'm not, chase perfection anymore.
Yeah.
We chase achievement.
We chase progress.
Right.
And that's the thing, is like, that was the big realization, was like, there is no perfection, because what you think perfection is now, let's say then, we look back at it now and be like, dude, it would have been so much better if we did this.
Yeah.
Right. And realizing that perfection is so limited to your current view on a situation or on a certain thing in your certain moment. But again, that's not going to be perfection to someone else. It's not going to be perfection to you in the future. So realizing that you're just trying to do better and grow and get better. Right. So if you're striving for progress, striving for greatness, but not striving for perfection, because honestly, that's going to be the only thing that is leading you to basically an unfulfilled life, because you're never going to hit perfection if you're always just growing. Then if perfection is basically kind of like what you're saying, thinking on like an infinite, horizon. Well, if it's an infinite horizon, then what is perfection? Because infinite never ends, which means perfection would never end.
That's right.
Right.
Dang, everyone's mind just went.
Right. So, I mean, like, that's how you have to think of it. If perfection is the end goal, but life is infinite, how can you ever get to the end of infinity? You can't.
You can't.
So then why aim for the end of something that never ends?
And I think, like, just a lot of us, and it's normal, like, to, the first thing that we think about is, like, how, like we said in the beginning, how do we get from point A to point B? But then it's like, what do you do when you get to point B? You know what I mean?
You do what Dory did in Finding Nemo, and you keep swimming.
Just keep swimming. We do have a few comments. Dico said, I guess this is from what you said earlier, the imposter syndrome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you just wrote that?
Yeah, he just wrote imposter syndrome.
I mean, yeah. I mean, so going in, explain it.
Go
on, explain it. Elaborate into it.
No, go for it.
So, I mean, everyone gets imposter syndrome in some form or fashion throughout your professional life, throughout your, in your profession, or throughout your fitness journey, right? And that could be if someone asks you a question, but you don't feel like you have the knowledge to give them because you're not where you wanted to be or want to be, right? So you feel like an imposter giving them, advice, right? Because you're not the person on the front of the fitness magazine. When in reality, you're further along in the journey than someone else, and you could help them get to where you currently are, and you're still moving forward, and you can still help bring them up to you, right? And you can still even give advice to how to get past where you're currently at, and that's because you're doing the things to try to get there as well, right? And same thing in business. We talked about, the business networking group that we're a part of and stuff, and you know, compared to some of the other people in there, like we're the small fish in, you know, a big ass pond. But at the same time, when, believe me, and this happens even now, like this, I'm not foreign to it. When I give advice to someone else in business or give advice to someone, especially if they're further along in business, like that imposter syndrome is there. But then realizing that imposter syndrome, or being an imposter, it means that you're being a fake, and I'm not being a fake because I'm doing these things as well, and I'm learning these things as well. And the knowledge I have in my head, whether I'm at that stage or not, or it's knowledge that I know I'm going to try when I get to that stage, I could give someone else and they can use it or not use it. It is their option to do so. But feeling like you're a fake or that you're a fraud or you're an imposter is only in your head. No one else sees it, right? Unless you're truly being an imposter.
Right. Oh, Katya dropped a comment. Shout out Katya. She said, I want to be healthy, disciplined, challenging myself during the years, which you do, definitely. Day one, I strive. I counted the seconds to finish. And when it said 10 seconds, I was released. Now I don't even listen to it. That's what you call like progress right there. You know, and you can definitely see that, like, you know, every single day, Katya is like, you know, one of the members that are just consistently putting in the work and realizing the progress from, which is actually, I can say for, I'm sure a lot of all, if not most, if not all members can vouch for that. It's like from the day one, when they started, you could barely breathe, you're probably throwing up, you can't even finish the whole round. And then now you guys are, you know, like doing hour workouts and like crushing like different goals and like landmarks for yourselves and stuff.
I mean, yeah, I mean, going into what she's saying too is like, it's huge because in the beginning of something, you're just doing it to do it because you know you need to do it. And you're just waiting for the minimal amount of time for you to just be done and say you did it, right? Then you do that enough times, you start to improve, and then you start to grow fond of or realize that it's easier than, you know, you thought, or you start to like the results that you're getting from the outcome. And then now you're not counting down the seconds to just say, I completed the task or I finished this, right? And all of a sudden, now you just really just focus on the actual purpose of why you actually signed up for the membership or why you know, got that job, right? So in the beginning, believe me, everyone does that. They, you know, just do the bare minimum because it sucks. It's painful mentally. But then over time, it gets a little less sucky and it gets more enjoyable. I mean, the workout, let's say it still sucks because you're still huffing and puffing, but you enjoy the suck, right? And it's realize that the results that you're looking for and the goals that you're looking for, you know, are in like basically the 20% of the work that you need to do to actually see the results is in 80% of the day that you're avoiding and doing the tasks, right? So it's like, if you would just do the things you needed to do, it would be a lot shorter of a time span, but you spend so much time avoiding it or counting the seconds. And then you're like, let me just reset the clock. I'll wait a little bit longer and then do it again. And it's like, dude, just do it. Like the things that you're avoiding, the tasks that you're avoiding or prolonging, that's where the results that you want are.
Yeah. I agree with that. Jess said, I used to struggle with perfection for a long time. Same. That was difficult, but I like that life infinite analysis. Yeah. Glad that, you know, she found that as a golden nugget, because it is, I think that's a helpful tool as far as like being able to help our perspective on certain things, and especially like when it comes to like overcoming the hard times and the certain obstacles, big or small.
Right.
I do want to add like to what you said too about kind of the process of it. It's just it was sitting in my head actually before when this like podcast started. It's most of us are like concentrated on like, okay, on for example the map or whatever your goal is, like, okay, I just need to get there, right? Like I need to get a point B like right now, and then you get disappointed or frustrated with the setbacks that are happening in the moment, right? But when we do finally reach the destination or whatever that current goal is, if you were to let's just say you were just to magically pop up and like appear to where you were trying to get to, or just suddenly attain the goal, it doesn't mean as much to you, because I think what creates the value inside of us as individuals is the journey,
Mhm.
is the process that it took, that we underwent to get to that end destination. Because when you realize all the things that you overcame, all the obstacles and the hardships that you overcame to get to the end destination, and who you are, who you've become to get to your end destination, is what makes us feel good. I think that's the definition of fulfillment.
Yeah, I mean, the saying goes, the man, and this is an actual saying, so don't don't get upset I'm saying man, but the man that values the journey will travel further than the man that values the destination, right? Because the man that values the destination is getting upset at every little hiccup, every little thing that's delaying them from getting to the destination. The man that, or the person that's basically valuing the journey and every obstacle that they overcome and celebrating the small wins, will continue to pass the destination and find a new destination or a new goal, because they're just valuing the work that they're doing and accomplishing. And like you said, it's not, I mean, this goes back to, I said this on a earlier podcast with you, the 50 Cent quote, right? The sunshine, without rain.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's like you wouldn't appreciate like sunshine without rain.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like those kind of things, you wouldn't appreciate accomplishing a goal that everyone could just do.
Yeah.
Because the separation happens in the obstacles. The separation happens in the setbacks. Some people hit the setbacks and that's it. Some people don't. Then setback 2 happens, and then some people stop there.
Mm-hmm.
But not as many get to the end goal, and even to goals after that. So the accomplishments for every obstacle overcame is already a fulfilling moment, because realizing that you're separating yourself from the herd, right? So it's like, if you were just able to snap your fingers and get there, then it's like, okay, cool. Anyone else can snap your fingers,
it doesn't mean anything,
right? But if you had to put in the work and put in the time and put in the effort, whether it was physically, mentally, emotionally painful to get there, when you do get there, it's going to mean that much more to you,
mm-hmm.
right? But with that being said, guys, because I know we did go over a little bit today, and I think on Instagram it might even have stopped or been paused. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
It always gives me a little warning when it's hits an hour. But with that being said, guys, make sure you guys share this episode with a friend, with someone else that is either facing or has recently faced a setback or a disappointment in their life, and let them know that they're not alone, that everyone faces them. But what are they going to do? Now what? Right?
You got to embrace that shit.
Exactly. So, but with that being said, we appreciate you guys. We love y'all. And if you guys have any recommendations for the next episode, for the next live, I know we've gotten a few, and we're going to cover all those topics, whether it's on a live or another episode. But please send, a DM, send an email, let us know any topics you guys want to cover, because we do value covering topics that you guys want to actually hear about or have questions about or are facing in your personal life. Because if you're facing it, if you're going through a mental battle right now, a mindset, or fitness, battle within yourself, I guarantee there's someone else out there that's listening or that could be listening that's facing it as well. So don't be too shy to ask, have some humility in realizing that you don't need to solve it alone, that we're here for you. And, with that being said, we'll see you guys on the next one.
See you guys. You're welcome, Katya. Shout out.
No negative vibes, only positive thoughts. Just in the game of life, mindset.